One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice.
Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, building the collective conscience, a show that is created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and debated. I am Michael Eric Owen.
And I am DT, and this is the One Mic, One Voice show.
Oh, it's so nice to be back in the studio.
I know, and it's been like a year, right?
It seemed like a year.
Like
Yeah, we both looking at Richard and trying to figure out why we can't get in the studio.
What the heck
is going on, folks? We are back. We are so excited. And me and DT, we were at Juneteenth yesterday.
Man, you know, that's like only one event that we've covered since the last time we've been able to be in the studio. But yeah, Juneteenth was amazing. I got a chance to see a lot of different activities, lots of people out enjoying the Juneteenth celebration, music, food, all the nines.
Yeah, it was great, man. I guess I have to mention there was some drama afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. There was a shooting. Actually.
Really?
Yeah. After the event had left and people were leaving. Supposedly there was an argument over, because the traffic is crazy, right? And there's some argument over, and supposedly somebody left in their car, came back, and just shot in the crowd. And somebody got hit.
They're mad about the traffic?
Man, folks mad about anything, man.
You know what? I'm going to tell you an honest story. Just like I was leaving there, right? And just like you're talking about the traffic situation in the parking lot, there was like one way to go in and one way to go out. And so after all the cars had started to fill up the parking lot, there were still cars trying to get in and other people trying to get out. And I was in that line of cars waiting to get out. Okay. And for like 5 seconds, I had like a really bad attitude. Like, man, I didn't shoot anybody, right? But I could potentially see where, you know, somebody a little less able to control themselves might have pulled.
But this is a problem I have is there's the stigmatization of the black community centering around black events, and the news did not report that it happened after the event. It reported, you know, that it happened at the Juneteenth event, right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference after and during the event, right? And so again, you get this feeling that black folks can't come together without some sort of violence taking place, but it's perpetuated.
That was one of the positives that I was working on when I was there. Is like, man, you know, we've been out here all day, and there have been like no problems. Nobody's got into arguments, fights, anything. But I mean, now you just broke the bad news to me.
Man, the heat alone,
we
made me want to punch somebody. I'm gonna keep it real, man. The heat was like, man, I had to peel my clothes off when I got home, man. I'm like, what is? it was crazy, man. And but folks, listen, we have a great show. I just want to touch for a moment, on Philando Castile, man, and what happened to him, and the verdict.
So the verdict came out on last Friday. A Hispanic officer who shot and killed Philando Castile in his car in front of his daughter was acquitted of all charges. Not one charge, not two charges, all charges.
You know, we have to do a show on the legal system and how the Supreme Court as well as state and local government look at policing. And the lack of accountability in it. We have to do a show on that because I think people will be. I have come to the conclusion that our fight, we can march as much as we want to. We can scream as much as we want to. We can do all of that. But unless we change laws, the laws are too general when it comes to this. It's impossible to convict a police officer. And what's scary is this. That guarantees us that more black and brown people will die.
Somebody mentioned on your Facebook post in regard to the
Was it
comment
nice?
you made about, pretty much what is it going to take? And somebody had commented that it would be an officer testifying against another officer in those situations. So how do you think that might play out?
I think that would work, but it never happened. I think it would work. I think that is probably the quickest answer instead of changing the laws and the statutes that exist right now. But it's never going to happen. Man, come on. How many people? Yeah, we can go all the way back to Rodney King, man. We can go back. Come on. I mean, how many opportunities have the quote unquote good cops had to make a difference? Now, if you think all of a sudden somebody's just going to wake up and go, you know what? I want to change this system. I got something I want to sell you. And it's, some swamp land that you can't build on, and I want to sell it to you, because if you believe that, it's not going to happen, man. I mean, we have to be realistic about it. But I want to take and listen to Brother Philando's mother and her response to it, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. Let's roll it.
And I will continue to say murdered, because where in this planet do you tell the truth and you be honest and you still be murdered by the police of Minnesota while you have your seatbelt on and you're in a company with a woman and a child? My son would never jeopardize anyone else's life by trying to pull a gun on an officer and the gun was not fire ready. These are some of the facts that came out in the trial, and I am so very, 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 very disappointed in the system here in the state of Minnesota, because nowhere in the world do you die from being honest and telling the truth. The system continues to fail black people, and they will continue to fail you all. Like I said, because this happened with Orlando, when they get done with us, they're coming from you, for you, and all your interracial children. Y'all are next, and you'll be standing up here fighting for justice just as well as I am. I am so disappointed in the state of Minnesota. My son loved this state. He had one tattoo on his body, and it was of the Twin Cities, the state of Minnesota with TC on it. My son loved this city, and this city killed my son, and the murderer gets away. People have died for us to have these rights, and now we're devolving. We're going back down to 1969. Damn! What is it gonna take? I'm mad as hell right now. Yes, I am. My firstborn one son died here in Minnesota.
Wow. Man, I can hear what I would title that, D, is righteous anger. And I want to say to our listeners, please comment on the show. We want to hear your thoughts. We're going to come back. We're going to visit this. But let me just say this. We need to have some righteous anger, right? And, people say don't advocate violence. Man, he ain't here. Dead man don't talk. He's gone. A human being with a life. His daughter in the car, man, seeing her father killed.
I mean, it's still out there for everybody else to see it. That's the troubling thing, too. You can watch a murder on TV live.
You can.
That's
live.
Our reality these days.
No, it's true reality, right? And man, I'm beyond tired. I'm beyond frustrated, man. I'm beyond all of that, because how long can we sit back as a society and allow for black and brown, and mainly black and brown men, get choked out, shot in the back? Walter Scott shot in the back 6-7 times in South Carolina. How long, man, can we actually say that we are a civilized society and let this continue on? And like I said in my post, I could be next, leaving this studio. That's how real this is. And we're going to come back to this, folks, but I'm going to say this. We got a great show, D.
You going to lighten the mood a little bit?
Man.
Or not so much?
We're going to, not at first. But we're going to try to get there, though.
All right.
Man, but we got a studio guest and another guest. But we got a studio guest in One Mic, One Voice. We so excited about it. We don't know what to do.
She's actually been a call-in guest as well.
Man, she is sitting here in the studio. And we are excited. Folks, when we come back, we're going to get into this thing called Love Beyond Race. Love Beyond Race. Folks, hang in there. Get your special Father Day mix.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to everyone out there. And we will be right back.
This is Richard Taplin, host of Blackest Studios' The Black Box. Join Elijah Bailey and myself as we interview entrepreneurs as they share their stories of passion and how it motivates them to strive forward. We also explore new topics on self-improvement. If you want to listen to our show, simply search Blackened Studios on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, or Stitcher. And be sure to follow us at Blackened Studios on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you want to catch all the shows that record here at Blackened Studios, simply go to the website, blackenedstudios.com. And remember, it's Blackened.
This is Josh K.
And I am Leah Marie.
And when we listen to podcasts, we always listen to
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice.
Your choice.
Welcome back to the One Mic, One Voice show, building the collective conscious. You know, in the studio, oh man, I have been waiting on this for a very long time. And, you know, what first captured me about the guest I'm going to introduce right now is, you know, sometimes people post things that are just, you know, I mean, they want attention, they out of control, they mad at somebody. I mean, just crazy stuff. But every now and then you run across somebody that posts some things, man, that are socially conscious, that speak to the heart of what's going on in our society. And I listen, right? Mm-hmm. And as I listen, I begin to observe a critical thinking person. And when I reached out to her and I found out not only is she educated, okay, but she's also a model, you know, let's put that on top of that. But I mean, just in tune with the difficulties of this life. And then when I found out she was young, I was like, man, this right here is something we definitely want to have on the One Mic, One Voice show. And so we reached out. Nikki Miller's in the house with us today. We reached out. There you go. Hey, we reached out. Nice. She called in. And, man, I remember that show, man. We got a lot of great responses from our listeners. And also, before you say anything, Nikki, we got Brother Michael Eds, right?
Yeah. In
the studio with us. A great name, by the way. You know, Michael means one who is like God, actually. And so, you know, he is her boyfriend. And he's in the Navy. I was in the Navy. Brother's name, Michael. My name. We got some good things going here, right?
They both wearing a hat, too, by the way.
Both.
I want to mention that.
We both wear the hats. I had on my Badger hat. I said we were rival hats. But, man, I mean, just a real smooth brother going into an aviation career in the only armed forces that we have, which is the United States Navy. Okay, I said it. The only one we have. But see, I ain't got nobody in here to debate me. Y'all ain't been in the service.
Can't chime in on that.
But we're so fortunate to have both of them here with us. Welcome, Nikki. Welcome, Brother Michael, to the One Mic, One Voice show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So, first of all, we've talked about you, Nikki, a lot on this show. So I'm sure some of our regular listeners have heard your name before and know a little bit something about you. But if you could just, in a snapshot, talk a little bit about your background and that sort of thing.
Oh my God! Every time you ask me to do this, I get so embarrassed. Okay. Well, I went to Baylor for my undergraduate studies for neuroscience. It was pre-medical. While I was there, I published an article about the lateralization differences between males and females, and that became published. And then the following year, I became the editor of this same journal I was published in. And I graduated 2015 from Baylor with my Bachelor's of Science.
Credentials. Brother Michael?
Sadly, I can't stack up to anything as great as that. But there's not a lot. 24, just joined the United States Navy, as mentioned before. Enjoying my career so far as an aviation machinist mate. So far, I'll be working on the FA-18, FA-EF Super Hornets. Get to have fun doing that.
Absolutely. And what's so, I think, interesting about what Brother Michael is not telling you is, at his age, he's going to be entrusted with some of the most expensive, sophisticated equipment that the Navy has. And when I look back on my career, man, I said, man, how did they trust me, man? I was like 20-some years old, man. I'm like, but it's an awesome responsibility, and it just shapes character. And so I applaud you for that. Now, we're talking about today love beyond race. And we're really getting into, Nikki is white. Brother Michael is black. I'm black. Been black all my life.
Same here.
Black.
I mean, all the time,
Richard,
every time.
I don't know Richard, one of them biracial brothers. Though. We don't know. Put the rumor out there. But anyway, people going to be, man, I didn't know Richard was biracial. No, folks, he's not. He's black. Okay. But anyway, so, but this controversy, right? This idea of blacks loving blacks and whites loving whites, and you can't be in relationships with one another. It was not like this from the beginning.
That's right, Mike. So from the beginning, when the first blacks got here in 1619, they were actually joined by whites as indentured servants. They both worked alongside each other, lived together, had families, grew crops together, all these different things. That's where we actually get the term mulatto children from, when these people were cohabitating and having children together. In the 1650s, the colonies of Virginia and Maryland passed laws concerning black and white indentured servants. White servants who could actually buy their freedom, and black servants who automatically became slaves. In 1661, Maryland became the first colony to pass laws prohibiting marriage between black men and white women. The law stated diverse, freeborn English women, forgetful of their free condition and to the disgrace of our nation, do intermarry with Negro slaves.
It's interesting. So from the beginning, right?
And to the disgrace of our nation.
Disgrace of our nation, right? But from the beginning, you had this sort of relationships between blacks and whites, and blacks and Indians, and Indians and whites, and we have this thing called slavery. And then we had this Supreme Court case, which was Pace versus Alabama, which the plaintiff Tony Pace, an African American man, and Mary Cox, a white woman, were residents of the state of Alabama. Get this. Who had been arrested in 1881 because their sexual relationship violated the state anti-miscegenation statute. they were charged with living together in a state of adultery or fornication, and both sentenced to 2 years imprisonment in the state penitentiary in 1882. You know, this miscegenation laws were marriage or cohabitation between two people from different racial groups, especially in the U.S. between a black person and a white person. And in 1868, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that state laws prohibited, which were unconstitutional.
Yes, we all disagree with
miscegenation, right? So we have this taboo, or even beyond taboo, this idea of it being against the natural order of things in the United States.
And against the law.
And against the law, right? So in the studio, again, Nikki and Brother Michael, you two are in a relationship. Talk about a little bit about, first of all, growing up, how did you view, you both from Texas, is that correct? Or you originally from?
I'm originally here from Oklahoma City.
That's right, you're from Oklahoma City. So what were your ideas? What were your thoughts about race in general, and then, you know, dating other people outside your race?
Who goes first? Okay, I will go first then. The school I went to when I was little, like elementary school, middle school, all of them, they were super, super diverse. So it never seemed obvious to me that, like, people who didn't look like me weren't supposed to be around me. So, like, most of my friends, I think I've actually talked about it on the show before, but most of my friends growing up were actually black. My second family that I would have considered, like, my mom that was there when my mom couldn't be, was a black family, and I hung out with them all the time, every day. She called me her daughter when she could and stuff like that. So it was like nothing to me. Like, I didn't care at all.
Well, Michael?
And for me, it's really, I never really thought about it because my grandparents are interracial. One is black. My grandmother is black. My grandfather is a Native American. Another relationship would be my cousin. He's black, and his wife is Vietnamese. So, as well as much as my friends, they always dated interracially. So I've never really thought, why do y'all do that, or anything such as that. So I've never really had an issue with it.
And you know what? Listen to you both talk. It's about experience, right? The experience that you had growing up, and I think that's a beautiful experience because, you know, I mean, when you're not your view is not so skewed, you know, when you're able to look at the world in a very naive way, really, and not be taught to look at the world through a certain lens. I think we develop like that, right?
Yeah.
However, there's something else going on around you. While you may view that, you got others around you, right? Other young folks around you that didn't. Did you run into situations, although you went to, Nikki, a diverse school, did you run into situations where it made you think like, well, you know, this is wrong, or why does this person feel that way, or why are these people, you know, saying these things or looking at me? I mean, did you have any of those experiences that made you start to really define race in a more holistic way?
No, not really. The entire time that I lived in Fort Worth, Texas, it very inclusive, very open. I think we were the 11th most diverse school in the nation or the state, something like that. No, it was never like pinpointed to me. And a lot of people have that saying where they're like, I don't see color, but I feel like that's not true. You do, and either you care or you don't care. And so, I mean, literally not seeing it would actually be being blind, and I'm not blind, I'm just open. So, yeah, no, there were no moments that I would have been like, this is like a racially important moment for me. Somehow. It never happened.
For you, never happened?
No.
So let's come current then, right? And given the understanding that you have of race in this country now, what are the challenges that you think exist in a an interracial relationship, not just black, white, but Asian, Native American, so forth. What have you faced? What thoughts do you have?
Well, we've been together like 2 months, kind of. We've been friends for like ever, almost, feels like. But in the course of the relationship for the past like 2 months or so, I've gotten actually like from people who aren't close to me, like people who may follow me because of my modeling, stuff like that. They are supportive, but there are quite a few that will come towards my inbox and tell me things like, why him? Out of all of the attractive, successful white men you could possibly date, like, why would you date him? Or they ask worse questions than that I don't really want to get into. But so that kind of gets to me. Not gets to me like it bothers me, but it gets to me like, why do you have to say that? Like, why do you think that? What makes you feel that way? And then I always do my best to try to be like educating them on why. Like, it doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter what color he is, things like that. And a lot of the times they'll be like, you know what, whatever, if that's just how you feel. And I'm like, well, it is how I feel. Like, I don't have to really, like, is it a surprise that's how I feel since this is the conversation we're having about my boyfriend? Like, but some of them aren't shy, though. Some of them will actually comment on the pictures publicly, or they'll, like, call him out and actually say something about him. And those are the ones that I'm not as nice to. Yeah. Because clearly they don't care how other people see them, so I'm just going to tell them how I feel right there, the way that they told me how they feel. And they're usually not as nice. They're not usually the ones that are going to be like, oh, if that's how you feel, then okay, cool. No, they're the ones that are going to
stay up all night on Facebook texting you back and forth.
They're the ones that are derogatory. They're the ones that like, they're the ones that like to stir.
Before I go to bed,
yeah, it's them.
And Brother Michael, I mean, there is, and I'll bring out these arguments, right, that will say, all our best and black men are with white women, right? You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
And so how how do you look at this thing, man? I mean, how do you?
I don't know, because I was always. Sometimes my mom, they would say jokingly, my mom, my sister, you date a black girl, you always like these, white girls, Asians, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they've always taught me, just love who you love, no matter what. Whether she's white, black, Asian, all that. So that's pretty much kind of what I've always done. Because I've talked to black girls, I've talked to white girls, Asian, Mexican, so.
Universal, brother.
What's funny is that what you're talking about is even having that kind of relationship with your family where it's open, where in other cases people are really sacrificing those friendships and families for their partner. So your parent or friend may put you in a position to choose, do you want to be with them or do you want to be with us? And so you have to decide at that point what's more important, your relationship or your happiness or your own path in life or this family or friendship. That's kind of pulling you away from everything that you want for yourself.
And when we come back, I want to get into that, the family dynamics and the friend dynamics. But we want to get into that and see how that can be a challenge. But also, folks, attitudes are changing, and we're going to talk about that when it comes to interracial relationships. And there is no pure race anyway, so maybe we'll get down to that here in a minute too. But folks, hang in there. We'll be right back.
This is DT of the One Mic One Voice podcast. Just want to let you guys know you can go over to iTunes and search us at One Mic One Voice and be sure to rate and review our episodes. Let us know about any feedback that you have and what you enjoy about the episodes. Also, you can go over to Stitcher where you can get the latest and freshest episodes of our podcast streamed directly to your smartphone or iPad. No downloading or syncing. How cool. Real smooth. Also, we'd just like to take the time to thank you for your time and for your energy and for spending time with us as we discuss the historical record of our time.
This is Dr. Laura Gillette, And when I listen to podcasts, I always listen to the One Mic, One Voice show.
Welcome back.
Yo.
When we went to the break, and let me see. Hold on a second here. Yeah, we're gonna have a little time because, folks, if you are a Patreon customer, afterwards we're gonna go to the after party. And let me tell you, today the after party gonna be crazy because Nikki and Brother Michael here, so we really gonna get down in the after party. So if you're not a Patreon customer, you want to sign up like now, ASAP. Get your credit card out, go there and sign up because I'm telling you, it's gonna be worth the listen. But family. I mean, let's be honest. Not everybody in our families agree with these decisions, right? And we have to make choices on who we love. I mean, it happens to our gay brothers and sisters all the time, right? I mean, they have to make choices on who they love. So talk a little bit about if you've had any family experiences.
I haven't had any personally, but on Nikki's side, her father absolutely can't stand the idea of me dating her. I mean, I haven't even met the guy yet. I've attempted to, and this guy went as far as to absolutely did everything to not speak to me. Like within 10 feet of each other, he did everything. Like he talked to her grandmother. He wouldn't make eye contact with me. He wouldn't give me a chance to just walk up to him and shake his hand and introduce myself as far as that. And as soon as he found out that we were dating, he sent her a bunch of statistics of like,
all fake. Keep in mind, these are not real numbers.
Like 80% of interracial
facts.
marriages won't last, and that if her and I decide to have a child, no other man will want her because her baby is interracial. So it'll make it twice as hard for her to get back out there and date and get married and such things as that. I believe he's also gone as far as to, as you said earlier, like make the choice of who do you want in your life? You want me or your new boyfriend? If you choose him, then I'm going to cut this, and that off, and all you have is just that. So I haven't had any personal issues, but as far as like having to support her through that, that's one thing so far as dating her.
That's deep, bro, because that's at the heart of what we're talking about here today. So, and my heart goes out to both of you. The first thing I want to ask is, how are you dealing with that, Brother Michael? I mean, internally, how are you dealing with that?
I mean, I deal with it fine because, growing up mostly, as y'all know, in black households, you're kind of taught how to deal with that situation. And, I mean, she's already met them. I have a group of people who are like a second family to me, and they're all white. And then their dad, about the same way, he's had a bad experience with black people. But he sees me as like a second son now. So I believe if I just get the chance, I can maybe, get him to see a different side of me to where he's like, okay, maybe, it's all right. I don't see him as that bad. But as of right now, it's about not going anywhere with it.
Well, let me, and D, I know D want to pipe in here. Let me say this. Number one, I don't know him, but what I will say is that's him, not you, number one, right? He should desire to know you. He should desire to get to know this young man that his daughter is in this relationship with. That's his loss, right? And so the strength of character in which you have to show is you just have to remember that these are things that are outside of your control, and you do what you do, and everything else. If he comes around, whatever, right? If he doesn't, it's still whatever, because really it's in his ballpark, right? And you can't live your life trying to validate yourself to someone else, right? Like if he just sees this side of me, everything might be cool, right? No. You don't have to validate yourself to him. If he wants to be human and open up and receive you, then that's a different thing. But you are good enough where you are at right now, right? I don't know if you want to add something.
Let me piggyback just for a second,
yeah.
because I mean, obviously, man, you have value already. You know, even aside from having to prove yourself to these other people, her friends, her family, her following are all like on the outside of who you are because they don't know you. You know, and so she may know to the extent of a great person you are, but on the outside, it's always like that noise and like, man, how do I convince these other people that I'm just as a diamond in the eye of whoever than I am to myself? But you know, like Mike is saying, you know, there's value there, and even us as, you know, African Americans who decide to delve into other areas of life where we're not necessarily seen as normal, you know, there's that weight you carry just with that alone, you know, having to prove that you deserve to be in that realm of existence.
Yeah. And I mean, Nikki, you showing a strength of character because obviously you're still with Brother Michael, and I applaud you for that.
Oh, I dare someone to try to get me to not be with him.
But I want you to talk about your reaction to all of this and your thoughts.
Well, like I said, growing up, a lot of the people who came around my house that I hung out with, they weren't white, and my dad would kind of say a few little things, like little tiny hits here and there, that kind of started the whole idea that maybe my dad's not totally cool with them. And the older I got, the more I guess he thought that I could understand where he was coming from, so he'd be more vocal about these types of feelings. And the more I was like, this is so stupid, I was like, no, I don't agree with whatever it is that he was trying to get me to believe. And so now that like I'm a full adult and I'm making 100% my own choices, and actually the boyfriend before last was also African American, and my dad didn't freak out the way that he did with Michael. And I think it's because he saw that relationship was an immature relationship. It wasn't going to be very solid for very long. And there's something different about Michael. He has this presence that like he's there for a purpose, and like if he's here, he cares. And I think that's when my dad is like, oh God, no. He actually wants to stay. Like he wants to be around for a while. And so I think that's why my dad is so upset about Michael versus the last one, because he knows that this actually might turn into something that he'll have to deal with. Like if we get married, if we have kids, like this is going to be the person that he might have to stick around with. And so I'm a little surprised at how strong he's coming on with his hatred. I laugh just because, man, it's just so unlike him to be this open about it. But I mean, I could care less what he says. I'm really good at ignoring the things that he says because he's done it my whole life.
Do you think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, do you think anything going on in the mainstream media right now is influencing your father's feelings, or maybe reinforcing something that he felt about black people in general that is having some, you know, pushback on Michael?
No, it's all from his past, I think. When he was younger, he was born and raised in Detroit. So he grew up in a fairly bad area. And when we were growing up, I remember him telling me a few stories about run-ins that he had with him and his brothers would be walking home or something, and a group of black kids would come up and harass them. And I remember one story was about them getting jumped for no reason. And I think it's just like how I was talking about earlier. When I was a kid, my personal experiences, those were his personal experiences. So,
as you said, you are making your choices, and you are determining and who you should love and who you should not love. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Now, so what you know, probably on the surface, one could say, what advice would you give to other young folks? But, you know, this is a problem that not just young people have, but older people have, right? Your dad is older, right? And so as you walk through life, if this is the direction that both of you are facing, have any thoughts about, you know, your military experience, you know, having kids, and you know, how does that play out in this polarized? You know, I think we're more polarized now than when I was growing up, to be honest with you. But any thoughts? I mean, have you thought that long into your future narrative together?
Yeah, we talked about it a few times. For instance, like I've set my permanent duty station to be in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Since that's one place she would like to move in the future.
I was there. VB, I can tell you all about it. Tell you where not to go.
Yeah, because one of her favorite cities on the East Coast is Boston. Okay. So I know me moving there made it very easier to come and see me.
Yeah.
While I'm over there, we can drive a couple of hours to go to Boston. We've talked about having children. We've really been openly communicating about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And anything there is possibly to talk about.
Well, I mean, in as Dee kind of pointed out, this context in which the relationship, interracial relationships are happening nowadays is extremely polarized, right? We have this extreme, I think, almost racist government, right? This conservative, even in Christianity, you have this high level of racism. And I would say this racism, though, is pointed toward immigration, right? But it's still in the psyche of, really,
you don't belong,
right? And the traditional view is that, especially coming from those probably like your dad and others, will view that that black men are not worthy to be with white women, right?
Yeah.
Did I say something that wasn't historical, right? I mean, it's out there, right? So the idea, or, you have the, I was told, I was just on the radio, right? And they brought that up. Yeah, Richard was listening, right? And they brought this up on the radio, how when a black athlete, or black guys date and marry white women because it improves their status. Yeah, well, first of all, you gotta meet a white woman that got some status, okay? First, what I mean? If you ain't got no status and she ain't got no status, you get together, how's that gonna prove anything, right? Kevin Durant already got status, okay? LeBron, Steph, all these guys that got, so whoever they married, okay, they got status. But you hear these, you hear just the, I think, illogical arguments and racist arguments. I was told one time that black men are with white women because of a slave mentality. I said, well, I'm confused. So explain that to me. So what she told me is that black men were not allowed to have white women during slavery time. So now that they can, they want them, right? Now, what kind of foolish is that? I mean, let's just be honest, right? But that is the, that's part of the psyche that is happening in our country. And if you're going to be in a relationship like this, you have to learn to navigate through all of it, right? There was a clip that you sent where the guy talked about when they were dating and after they got married, they had kids. He was afraid to put up the pictures of his family in his office because he didn't know what his management would think.
They worried about everything, about buying a house, about where the kids would, end up going to school, or how they would be perceived in out going grocery shopping. He talked about having to have his wife walk, 5 or 6 steps ahead of him, just so it wouldn't seem like they were together, even though they were, but they wanted to keep everything on the hush. So, they kind of did things to protect themselves from what other people may perceive them as, or, think they were up to. But, those things are like a stress constantly, even in a relationship now, having to deal with the debates about Black Lives Matter and unfair verdicts in regard to people of color. How do interracial relationships have those conversations in a healthy way without it being something that end up tearing you apart, at the end of it all?
But I mean, it is a good question, right? It's a good question because
because it's
both
not
of
like
you,
life isn't happening still.
Exactly.
You know, you are in a relationship, you love each other, but still there are things happening on the outside that influence both sides.
and both of you are socially conscious, right? And it's good that. Well, probably Nikki's more socially conscious than you. You working on him?
I'm trying.
working on
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I gotta keep
You-
up with her on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
You need
teach
to
him what I know on a daily basis.
Yeah. You need to keep working on him. Keep working on him. You be good for him in that way. But you know, those sort of conversations, you know, being able to speak to your pain as a black man to your woman who is white, and for her to be able to understand that pain, I think is a beautiful thing. Because if not, how would that relationship even function? Right?
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, part of how we view the world drives us, right? And clearly, you know Nikki better than we do, but I can tell she's driven by these social issues, right? So how does that conversation happen between you two when it comes to social issues? Let us on the inside.
I don't know. We don't really talk about social issues as far as race. It's usually just like my family, because my family's like the biggest part.
Right.
My family's the biggest issue we have.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, like I said, random people, followings, stuff like that. We talk about it, but we mostly like laugh about it. In all honesty, even with my dad sometimes, like we literally don't care. It's really hard to make either of us angry about stuff like this. And so I actually that makes it easier that he's not very reactive. And so when things like this happen, it's promising that like it won't get blown out of proportion. I literally can't say that. I know this almost sounds racist in itself, but my white boyfriends would have freaked out. They would have been like, we need to address this. We need to do something about it. We need to let people know how I feel, how you feel. And I was like, why can't we just not? And Michael is like, whatever, I don't care. And so my life is so much easier with him on a personal level. Like our dynamic is smoother. But my dad is obviously looking to make it rough, but it's not working. And
So the question is, so you are willing to not have a relationship with your father if it came down to that, and continue your relationship with Brother Michael?
Yes, I would probably be okay. As far as like giving people up, it's not blood, or it's not the amount of time spent. It's the feeling that I get with you now.
Yeah.
And Michael makes me happy right now. Michael will probably make me happy forever. And my dad doesn't make me happy right now. My dad's actually making me feel worse. And it's not for a good reason either. You have to take into account, like, why would he say something like this? And his reasoning is awful as well. So there's nothing that he's saying or doing that proves that he's being a good father, that he's doing this out of love. It's kind of a selfish reason. Like, he doesn't want to have a daughter that's dating someone who's black. And so it's not for me, it's for him. And I feel like who I'm dating, the whole conversation should be about, is it okay for me? Is it good for me? Is it healthy for me? Am I happy? And if he's not going to focus on me when it comes to my relationship, then I can do without.
Well said. Well said. Folks, we're going to come back, sum this up. We have some statistics we want to toss out to you. In America today, how people look at these relationships, you will be probably surprised. But we'll be right back.
This is Elijah Bailey.
This is Richard Taplin
From the Elijah Bailey Show, bringing you all the content that you could ever desire about anime, manga, comic books, martial arts, fitness, and more.
You can find us at Elijah Bailey Show on the official Facebook page, and also Elijah Bailey Show without the W on Twitter and Instagram.
Make sure to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and rate on iTunes and Podbean.
This is Dr. Paul Ketchum, and I fully support One Mic, One Voice, and I recommend you do the same.
Welcome back, folks. We're having a great show. We have Nikki and Brother Michael in the studio with us. Oh man, yeah, it's been a tough conversation, right? we know from the beginning, these relationships were not a problem. And we know when slavery kicked in and Jim Crowism and segregation and all that, all of a sudden they became an issue. But today, 87% approve of black-white marriages versus 4% in 1958. So folks, if you're out there and you're saying, I think this is wrong, you're really in the minority, right? You know, and geography's got a lot to do with it, folks. I'm gonna be honest with you, because there's some hangups in the South that still exist that don't exist in the East, don't exist in the West, don't exist in the Midwest. So don't think where you live, the attitudes may be that way, that they're like that everywhere, right? And that's a great statistic. It has been going up favorably since 1958. But there's almost a problem with that, though, right? Because then the other part of me says it should have never been a problem, right? Why was it ever a problem, right? And why do I even care that it's going up, right? I just want to love who I want to love, right? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, but does that give you hope to know that nearly 90% of Americans actually believe that interracial relationships are good for the country?
Yeah, I mostly believe so. I would like to see more interracial couples happen more, to be honest.
There's a professor out there somewhere that he was talking to his class, and he was talking about race, and he's like, honestly, I think we should all just have sex with each other until we're one color. And I kind of couldn't agree more. Like, I feel like once we get past that, like, so many more things can be worked on in this country. Like, we're so focused on something as minimal as race or background, creed, religion, anything that's like a classification. It's not important. And the fact that more and more people are agreeing, like, it doesn't matter, or even better, like, it's good for us, that's perfect. That's what we need.
And I mean, getting back to what we said we would mention, there's no pure race, right? You know, I just did my ancestry DNA, right? And I got 10% European, Irish, they say Richards, I told you the eyes. But majority was out of Nigeria. But there is no pure race, and to be caught up, and this is one thing that me and DT, I mean, we just shake our heads, man. We've been shaking our heads for years that people are just so caught up with the fact that we simply have more pigment than you. Yeah, I mean that this thing has just driven the world insane. And part of me says that if it wasn't that, then it might be height, or it might be, shoe size or something. My shoe's bigger than you. I got privilege. Who knows what it might be. But I just think it's so silly, right? When we really sit down and have a conversation about it and analyze it and simply say, man, love who you want to love. You ain't going home with me. You know what I mean? You ain't paying my bills. So why do I ain't turning over looking at you. You know what I mean? So I really do not care what somebody's opinion is of who I choose to love in my life. That really don't matter to me at all. And if you hung up on it, folks, you need some therapy. You need some help, because the world's changing, right? Our country's changing. Black and brown, not just between blacks and whites, but Asians and whites and Latinos and blacks. And the world is becoming multicolored. Get with it. I almost think there's like a fear, because like as people are moving toward this kind of getting back to my roots era, trying to understand where they come from, what their culture is, there's a divide there in trying to accept somebody else who's outside of that.
And so even like you talked about going to get your ancestry done, like that's a fear for some people because they don't want to find out that they have, a little drop of European or Hispanic or whatever. It's like, man, I might kill myself if I find out I'm not all black,
Yeah, my 10%, man.
But it's like
I'm depressed now, D.
Exactly. Like
the heck, man.
Who am I? Why? Type deal.
Right.
But it's like it's silly to a point. It's like, man, really? Like, can't you just be appreciative that you're here in the first place?
No doubt.
If white people or black people would ever have the chance to decide, then people will make their choice. But I didn't say, hey, you know what, man?
Zero
black.
input.
I want locks. I want to be 6 foot tall. I didn't get a chance to choose all that, but for whatever reason, it's working out for me.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciative of
locks are smooth, though, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you like touching your locks. Get off me, man. But check this out. 1 in 7 U.S. infants, 14% were multiracial or multi-ethnic in 2015. Nearly tripled the share in 1980. Folks, statistics, man. You can argue all you want to, but it's already there. It's already been written, man. It's already if you are a learned person, I don't know where you're gonna go. I mean, it's relationships and choices that people make are strictly that. It's the choices that people make, and we should respect those. We should get behind it. We should support it. I'm thrilled, to be honest with you, man. You got to be a bad brother. I'll be honest with you, man, because we've heard Nikki go in and how she talks, man, and we've seen the photos, and you're a bad brother. And I know you are, man, because your name is Michael. You in the Navy. You don't do great things. So hey, it's like I'm looking in the mirror here or something. But no, on a serious note, man, I wish both of you much success, not just in your relationship, but also in your individual pursuit of your goals in life. I think you today on the One Mic, One Voice show have been a great example of what it means to stand up for what you believe in, to make a choice, and to live with that choice. I wish more folks your age was like that, really. Any closing words of wisdom, of advice? There's some young people listening right now that, that could be struggling with this. That could be, saying, I like him or I like her, but I can't do anything about it because what if something such and such person would say, what would you say? What would you deliver? What would be that positive word?
It's not exactly polite, but I'd say screw them, forget them. They don't matter. If you're happy, then you're happy. And to kind of get a little sad, the last person I dated, I met Michael and the last boyfriend I had at the same time. And I thought about my family and how the boyfriend before was black, and I was like, maybe if I go with this other person, my family will be happier, so I'll be happier, and things will go better for me. And I can, without a doubt, say it was the worst relationship I'd ever been in. And it stemmed from choosing somebody based on what other people would feel, not what I would feel. And not gonna lie, Michael's a little shy, so he didn't even tell me how he felt for the longest time. But I
step it up, brother. Step it up.
For freaking real. But no, like if I had stuck with my gut and decided to pursue a relationship with someone who I actually felt comfortable with, who I felt happy with, I would be 2 years further in a relationship with somebody I ended up in a relationship with anyways. And I wouldn't have had to go through the emotional trauma of dating someone that wasn't meant for me because that person was meant for my family, but not for me.
That's great advice. That is solid advice. Talk to that brother out there that he's in a clique with some guys that's saying, hey man,
we're going back to Africa.
Yeah. We focus on black. We're Afrocentric, and he's interested in someone outside of his race. Talk to him, man. Don't send him back to Africa, though, bro. I've been to Africa, bro. Spent 6 months on the. Let me slow up now because we got folks on the continent listening. Yeah. Love my Kenyan brothers. Love, beautiful. Beautiful, bro. I love Africa. 6 months there. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, the only thing I can really say towards that is what my cousin Tony taught me is basically love who you love and to not be afraid of that choice you made. Because at the end of the day, the only matter that really feels is what's in your heart. So just always follow that.
Follow your heart. Follow your heart, man. Hey, it's been a great show. Love Beyond Race, man. I listen.
And we got the after party.
And we got the after party. But, man, I just can't get over the fact that Nikki in the studio with us, man.
She's been here like a whole hour.
Man, I'm still, like, tripping, right? This has been, in the making, man. We done had 3 stars come through. Jamie, Lauren, Nikki. Triple threat. Our jobs might be in jeopardy, man. Maybe I shouldn't be too happy.
I mean, your daughter wrote the
well, come on, man. That's
you're just gonna give it up like that.
That's
we in this
that's
thing,
Leah
right?
Marie, man. That's if I start talking about
security because of that alone.
If I start talking about her, we'll be here for another 5 hours, folks. But listen, it's been a great show. As always, history will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time. And what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many we became one? Or will she find that we solved nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes,
history will speak of us.
You can change the world, it's your choice.
We can make a difference if we try. We can beat the change that's in our lives. All we gotta do is work together. We gotta raise our children better. We gotta stop the hate, and spread the love.
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. Your choice.
Today's broadcast is being brought to you by Blacken Studios. To learn more about Blacken Studios, please visit them at blackenstudios.com or visit them on their Facebook page, Blacken Studios. Today's broadcast is also being brought to you by Perry Publishing and Broadcasting. To learn more about Perry Publishing and Broadcasting, please visit their website at perrypublishingandbroadcasting.net. The opinions of the One Mic, One Voice show do not reflect the views of Blacken Studios or Perry Publishing and Broadcasting. Thank you for downloading the One Mic, One Voice show.